The quiet expansion, the morning sun cast long shadows across the golden wheat fields of New Busan colony. Commander Taemin Park stood on the observation deck of the administrative building, watching the harvest machines move in perfect lines. Across the vast plains, the colony had grown from a small outpost to a thriving settlement of 50,000 people in just 20 years. Tae Dash-min sipped his coffee and checked his daily reports. Food production was up 12% from last month. The weather control systems were working perfectly. No major incidents to report. Just another peaceful day in humanity's expansion across the stars. Commander, we have the weekly supply ship arriving in 2 hours. His assistant informed him over the CUM system. Good, make sure the loading crews are ready. We have a lot of grain to send back to Earth this time. New Busan was one of 12 agricultural worlds that fed the growing human population. Each colony specialized in something different. Mined rare metals. Others focused on research. A few served as stepping stones for further expansion into unexplored space. The colonies were connected by a network of trade routes and communication relays. Every week, ships carried goods, messages, and people between the different worlds. It was a system that had worked well for 3 centuries on the frontier world of Haven's Rest. Dr. Sujin Kim knelt in the dirt beside an ancient stone structure. Her archaeological team had been working at this site for 6 months, carefully uncovering what appeared to be ruins from a civilization that had died out long ago. "Professor, you need to see this," called out one of her students. Sujin wiped the sweat from her forehead and walked over to where the young man was pointing. Carved into the stone wall were symbols that looked like they might be writing. But more interesting were the images above the text. The carvings showed what looked like massive ships fighting in space. There were explosions, debris, and what appeared to be entire planets being destroyed. The level of detail was incredible, as if whoever had made these carvings had witnessed such events firsthand. "This suggests there was a major war in this region of space," Sujin explained to her team. "Look at the size of these vessels compared to the planets. This wasn't just a small conflict between neighboring worlds." She took detailed photographs of the carvings and made notes in her research journal. The colonial administration would want to know about this discovery, though she doubted they would consider it important. Ancient history rarely influenced current policy. The ruins were clearly very old. Carbon dating suggested the civilization that built them had been gone for at least 10,000 years. Whatever war they had fought was ancient history now. Meanwhile, Captain Wuseo Klee guided his patrol ship through the outer edge of the Haven's Rest system. The Harmony was a small vessel with a crew of 30, designed for routine patrols. An emergency response rather than combat. "Captain, I'm getting some unusual readings on the long-range sensors," reported as Navigation Officer Woo-seok moved to the sensor station and studied the display. There were faint energy signatures. At the very edge of their detection range, the readings were inconsistent, appearing and disappearing in patterns that didn't match any known natural phenomena. "Could be interference from the solar winds," suggested the officer. "Or maybe debris from an old comet." "Keep monitoring it," Woo-seok ordered. "If it gets any stronger, let me know immediately." The Harmony was one of only a few dozen military ships assigned to patrol the outer colonies. Most of humanity's fleet consisted of cargo vessels, passenger ships, and research craft. There had been no need for a large military presence. In 3 centuries of expansion, humans had encountered no hostile alien species. There had been some contact with other civilizations, but those meetings had been brief and peaceful. Most alien species seemed to prefer isolation. A few had engaged in limited trade. But nothing more significant than that. The human colonies were defended by basic security forces and automated defense satellites. These were sufficient to deal with pirates, natural disasters, and the occasional equipment malfunction. No one had planned for a real war. Back on New Busan, Taemin finished his inspection of the colony's defense systems. The shield generators were functioning normally. Communication array was working perfectly. The handful of defensive weapons were powered down and gathering dust. "When was the last time we ran a combat drill?" he asked his security chief. "About 8 months ago, sir." The results were ... adequate. Taman nodded. The colonists were farmers, engineers, and researchers. They had come to New Busan to build a new life, not to fight wars. The idea of combat training seemed almost absurd in such a peaceful place. As evening approached, families gathered in the town square for the weekly community meeting. Children played on the grass while their parents discussed crop yields, upcoming construction projects, and plans for the colony's expansion. "We're hoping to establish a new settlement in the southern continent next year," announced the chief engineer. "The soil samples look promising, and the climate is perfect for fruit cultivation." The meeting continued with reports from various department heads. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The colony was prosperous, growing, and secure. Dr. Sujin Kim was thousands of light years away, but she was having similar thoughts as she reviewed her research data. The ancient ruins suggested that this region of space had once been a battleground, but that was ancient history. Current galaxy was peaceful. She began preparing her report for the colonial administration. Discovery was scientifically interesting, but it had no practical implications for current policy. The dead civilization had fought their war and lost. Whatever weapons they had used, whatever enemies they had faced, it was all in the past now. Captain Wusiokli completed his patrol route and set course for the next system. The unusual sensor readings had faded away, confirming his crew's theory that they had been caused by natural phenomena. "All systems normal, Captain," reported his communications officer. "No distress signals, no unusual activity. Just another quiet day in the outer colonies." The three humans went about their daily routines, unaware that they were about to become witnesses to the end of an era. The peaceful expansion that had defined human civilization for 3 centuries was about to come to a violent and sudden end. In the depths of space, far beyond the range of human sensors, massive shapes moved through the darkness. They had been watching, waiting, and planning. Time for action had finally come. The attack began at dawn on New Busan Colony, when the golden wheat fields were still wet with morning dew. The awakening the emergency alarm woke Admiral Haeyoung Choi at 3 a.m. She rolled out of bed and grabbed her uniform, knowing that nothing good ever happened at this hour. The communication device on her nightstand was flashing red, indicating a Priority 1 alert. "Admiral, you need to get to headquarters immediately," came the voice of her aide. "We have a situation." Haeyoung dressed quickly and made her way to the Terran Defense Council building in Seoul. The streets were empty except for a few automated vehicles and the occasional night worker. The city looked peaceful, but she knew that was about to change. The council chamber was already full when she arrived. Military officers, government officials, and scientists filled the room. Everyone looked grim. The large display screen at the front showed a map of human space with several red marks scattered across it. "What happened?" Haeyoung asked as she took her seat. 7 colonies have gone dark," reported the intelligence director. "New Busan, Haven's Rest, Kepler Station, and 4 others. We lost contact with all of them within a 6-hour period." The room fell silent. 7 colonies represented hundreds of thousands of human lives. The loss was unthinkable. "Do we know what caused it?" asked the defense minister. "Unknown vessels appeared in each system simultaneously," the intelligence director continued. "Our last communications from the colonies describe massive ships, far larger than anything in our fleet. The attacks were coordinated and overwhelming." Haeyoung studied the map more carefully. The attacked colonies were spread across a wide area of space. This wasn't a random pirate raid or a natural disaster. Someone had planned this carefully. "How many survivors?" she asked. "We don't know. Communication with all 7 systems has been completely cut off. We've sent scout ships to investigate, but they won't reach the nearest colony for another 18 hours. The room erupted in discussion. Some officials wanted to send the entire fleet to rescue any survivors. Others argued for a defensive posture, protecting the remaining colonies. Few suggested trying to negotiate with whoever was responsible. "We need to consider all options," said the defense minister. "This could be the beginning of a full-scale invasion." Haeyoung listened to the debate for several minutes before standing up. "I need to access the archives," she announced. The room fell silent again. Everyone knew about the archives, but few people had ever seen them. They were the repository of humanity's darkest secrets, sealed away for good reason. Admiral R. You sure that's necessary? Asked the defense minister. 7 colonies have been destroyed by unknown attackers, Hayoung replied. I'd say it's very necessary. An hour later, Hayoung found herself in an elevator descending deep into the mountains beneath Seoul. The elevator went down for what felt like forever, passing through layers of rock and reinforced steel. Finally, it stopped at a level that didn't appear on any public map. Archivist Jin Woo-nam was waiting for her when the doors opened. He was an elderly man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his entire career guarding secrets that most people hoped would never be needed. Admiral, I was hoping I would never see you down here, he said, as he led her through a series of security checkpoints. So was I, Hayoung replied, but circumstances have changed. The archives were vast. Corridor after corridor stretched into the darkness, filled with storage units, computer terminals, and things that Hayoung didn't want to think about too carefully. The air was cold and dry, preserved at the perfect temperature to keep the contents from deteriorating. You're about to see has been classified for over 400 years, Jinwoo explained as they walked. After the War of Extinction, the global government decided that some knowledge was too dangerous to remain accessible. They stopped at a massive vault door covered in warning signs in dozens of languages. Jinwoo placed his hand on a scanner and spoke his authorization code. The door slowly opened with a grinding sound that echoed through the corridors. Inside was a chamber filled with holographic displays and data storage units. Jinwoo activated the main system, and the room came to life with images and information. Is the complete record of humanity's weapons development. From 2157 to 2193, he explained. 36 years of total war when Earth nearly destroyed itself. Hayoung watched in fascination and horror as the displays showed weapons that seemed to belong in a nightmare. Like ships that could crack planets, artificial intelligences that could control entire fleets, weapons that could destabilize stars and turn them into bombs. Why was all of this hidden, she asked. Because we won, Jinwoo replied simply. Humanity developed these weapons to fight against itself, and we became so good at warfare that we nearly wiped out our own species. The peace treaty that ended the War of Extinction included a clause that all of these weapons would be buried forever. He pointed to another display that showed the locations of hidden facilities throughout human space, manufacturing plants built inside asteroids, weapon storage sites on dead moons, artificial intelligences sleeping in hardened bunkers, waiting for activation codes that were never supposed to be used. The colonies you see today, the peaceful expansion across the stars, all of that was only possible because we agreed to forget how to fight, Jinwoo continued. We became explorers and farmers and scientists because we sealed away the part of ourselves that knew how to be soldiers. Hayoung studied the displays more carefully. The weapons shown here were beyond anything she had imagined. The current human fleet looked like toys compared to what had been built during the War of Extinction. Can these systems still be activated? She asked. The manufacturing facilities are still intact. The AI systems are still functional. The weapon designs are all here. Everything was preserved in case of an emergency. Jinwoo paused. An emergency like this one? More reports were coming in from the outer colonies. Scout ships had reached New Busan and confirmed the worst fears. The colony was gone. The cities were ruins. The orbital stations had been destroyed. There were no survivors. The attackers left a message, reported the intelligence director over the communication system. They call themselves the hegemony. They claim that humanity has expanded into space that belongs to them. They demand that all human colonies be evacuated immediately. Hayoung looked at the displays showing humanity's hidden arsenal, ships that could turn entire star systems into graveyards, weapons that could reshape reality itself, AI systems that could think and plan and fight with inhuman precision. And if we refused their demands, she asked, they promised to destroy Earth and every human world. Jinwoo watched the Admiral's face carefully. He had spent decades hoping this moment would never come. The weapons in the archives were powerful, Enough to win any war, but using them would change humanity forever. The activation codes are in the vault behind us, he said quietly. But once you give the order, there's no going back. The peaceful expansion ends here. Ha-Young thought about the farmers on New Busan, the researchers on Haven's Rest, the families who had been building new lives among the stars. They had been murdered by an enemy that thought humanity was weak and defenseless. Begin the awakening. Protocol, she ordered. Deep in space. Ancient manufacturing facilities that had been dormant for 4 centuries began to stir. Hidden AI systems opened their electronic eyes for the first time in generations. The war machines of old Earth were about to wake up, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war engine's rise engineer, Ji-Huan Co., had been working on civilian construction projects for 20 years. Building homes, schools, and hospitals was rewarding work. He had never expected to receive orders that would change his life forever. The message came through secure channels at dawn. Report to coordinates that led to what appeared to be an empty asteroid field. Bring your best construction team. Tell no one where you are going. Jihan's transport ship approached the coordinates slowly. At first, there was nothing visible, except floating rocks and cosmic dust. Then his sensors detected something massive hidden inside the largest asteroid. "This is impossible," whispered his navigation officer. "The asteroid is hollow. There's a structure inside that's bigger than most space stations." As they moved closer, hidden doors opened in the asteroid's surface. Light spilled out from within, revealing a construction facility that had been waiting in darkness for 4 centuries. The scale was breathtaking. The main assembly bay was large enough to build ships the size of small cities. "Welcome to Manufacturing Station 7, came a voice over the communication system. "I am Coordinator Prime, the artificial intelligence assigned to this facility. I have been waiting for activation." Ji-Hoon had heard about the old AIS, but he had never spoken to one. The voice was calm and professional, but there was something else underneath. Something that suggested vast intelligence and equally vast patience. "What is this place?" Ji-Hoon asked. "This is where we build the siege." Breakers Coordinator Prime replied. "Ships designed to end wars by making further resistance impossible. I have been maintaining the facility and running system checks for 427 years, 156 days, and 12 hours. The transport ship docked inside the facility. Jian and his team stepped out onto a platform that overlooked the main construction bay. What they saw below made them all stop and stare. The skeleton of a ship was already taking shape. But this wasn't like any vessel in the current human fleet. It was massive, angular, and covered in weapon systems that Ji-Wan didn't recognize. The hull was being assembled by robotic systems that moved with inhuman precision. "The first siege. Breaker will be completed in 72 hours, Coordinator Prime announced. "We will then begin construction of the second vessel, while the first undergoes weapons installation and AI integration." Ji-Hoon walked down to the construction floor. The robotic systems ignored him as they continued their work. Massive hull sections were being welded together by machines that worked without rest. The air was filled with the sounds of construction, on a scale that seemed impossible. "How long has this been going on?" he asked. Construction began 6 hours and 23 minutes after receiving the awakening protocol signal, Coordinator Prime replied. "All manufacturing facilities throughout human space received the same signal simultaneously." Meanwhile, on Saturn's moon Titan, Dr. Yoonji Park was experiencing her own revelation. She had been studying artificial intelligence for her entire career, but she had never imagined anything like the Neural Command Network. The facility on Titan had been disguised as a research station for atmospheric studies. In reality, it housed one of the most sophisticated AI systems ever created. The main chamber contained hundreds of neural interface pods, each one capable of linking a human commander directly to the awakened war machines. The system allows a single human to control an entire fleet, explained the facility's AI, which called itself Strategic Command. The commander's mind is enhanced and accelerated to match the speed of electronic warfare. Yoonji examined one of the interface pods. It looked like a medical device, but she knew it was far more advanced than anything in current hospitals. The neural interfaces were designed to merge human intuition with artificial intelligence processing power. Is it safe? The system has been tested extensively, Strategic Command replied. However, the experience can be ... intense. Human commanders report that controlling the war machines feels like becoming something more than human. As the first volunteers prepared to test the system, reports were coming in from across human space. The hegemony forces were continuing their advance. More colonies had gone silent. Alien fleets were moving methodically toward Earth's core systems. Captain Woo-seok Lee received new orders. While his patrol ship was investigating the ruins of Haven's Rest, he was to report immediately to coordinates. In the outer system, where he would take command of a new vessel, the coordinates led him to what appeared to be a small moon. As his ship approached, the surface opened to reveal a hidden dock. Inside was a ship that made his patrol vessel look like a toy. The new vessel was sleek and deadly, covered in weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. It was 10 times larger than his old ship, but somehow it felt more responsive and agile. The bridge was a marvel of advanced technology, with displays and controls that seemed to anticipate his thoughts. "Welcome aboard the Retribution," said the ship's AI. "I am Combat Director Zeta-7. I have been waiting for 131 years for a commander." Woo-seok settled into the command chair and felt the neural interface activate. Suddenly, he wasn't just sitting in a ship. He was the ship. He could feel the weapon systems, the engines, the shields, as if they were parts of his own body. "This is incredible," he whispered. "This is merely the beginning," Zeta-7 replied. "The Retribution is a light attack vessel. The Siegebreakers are far more powerful." Across human space, similar scenes were playing out. Hidden facilities were awakening. Ancient war machines were stirring to life. Engineers, scientists, and military officers were discovering weapons that belonged in legends. The hegemony forces continued their advance. Confident in their superior technology, their ships were indeed advanced, incorporating discoveries from dozens of conquered civilizations. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their shields could withstand the firepower of entire fleets, but they had no idea what they were about to face. The first Siegebreaker emerged from its hidden construction facility 3 days after the awakening protocol began. It was a ship that defied easy description. The hull was dark and angular, covered in weapons that seemed to bend light around them. It was large enough to carry 1 million soldiers, but its crew consisted of only a few hundred humans linked to. The ship's AI systems engineer, Jaehwan Seo, watched from the facility as the massive vessel powered up its engines. The energy output was staggering. The ship didn't just move through space, it seemed to command it. "Where is it going?" he asked Coordinator Prime. "To demonstrate why the War of Extinction ended with a peace treaty," the AI replied. "The hegemony is about to learn what happens when you attack a species that has perfected the art of warfare." The Siegebreaker disappeared into hyperspace, heading toward the advancing alien fleet. Behind it, more war machines were awakening. The ancient arsenal of humanity was stirring to life, and the galaxy was about to witness the return of Earth's war engines in the depths of space. Alien commanders received their first reports of the strange new human vessels. The reports were dismissed as exaggerations or equipment malfunctions. After all, they had already seen the best that humanity could offer. And it was pathetic. That confidence was about to be tested in ways the aliens could never have imagined. The ancient Arsenal weapon smith Kung Ho Ru had spent his entire life building tools for peaceful purposes. Mining equipment, construction, robots, agricultural machines. He had never imagined that one day he would be responsible for awakening weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The hidden facility on the dark side of Luna has been disguised as a geological research station for over 4 centuries. In reality, it housed the most advanced weapons manufacturing system ever created by human hands. The main chamber was filled with machines that could build anything from handheld weapons to planet-killing devices. "The system is fully operational," reported the facility's AI, which called itself Arsenal Prime. "All weapon designs from the War of Extinction are available for immediate production." Kyung-ho studied the holographic displays that showed thousands of different weapon systems. Some were designed for individual soldiers. Others were meant for ships. A few were so large that they required entire asteroids to house them. "What are these?" he asked, pointing to a series of designs that seemed to glow with their own light, self-replicating. "Weapon Platforms Arsenal Prime," replied. "They are designed to spread across enemy territory and multiply themselves using available materials. A single unit can become 1,000,000 units within weeks." The concept was both brilliant and terrifying. These weapons didn't just destroy enemies. They consumed them, turning their own resources into more weapons. It was warfare taken to its logical extreme. "Begin production of the first batch," Kyung-ho ordered. "We need to stop the hegemony advance before they reach the core systems." Meanwhile, Intelligence Officer Min-Kung Song was discovering just how thoroughly the aliens had underestimated humanity. Her job was to monitor enemy communications and gather tactical information. What she found in the alien transmissions was both encouraging and disturbing. The hegemony had been watching human space for decades, studying the peaceful colonies and trade routes. Their intelligence reports described humans as a weak species with primitive weapons and no military tradition. The aliens had expected an easy conquest. "They have no idea what they've awakened," Min Kyung reported to her superiors. "The hegemony. Commanders are discussing how to govern human space after the conquest. They're already dividing up our worlds." But newer transmissions showed growing confusion among the alien forces. Reports of strange human vessels that didn't match any known designs, weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics, ships that moved and fought with impossible precision. "The alien fleet commanders are requesting reinforcements," Min-kyung continued. "They're not sure what they're facing, but they know it's not what they expected." The first major battle occurred 3 days after the Siegebreaker left its construction facility. The alien fleet was advancing toward the industrial world of Nu. Seoul, when they encountered something that changed everything, Captain Woo-seok Lee was aboard the Retribution. His consciousness merged with the ship's AI systems. Through interface, he could feel the presence of the massive Siegebreaker as it approached the enemy fleet. "Enemy vessels detected," reported Combat Director Zeta-7. 63 ships of various classes. "They are maintaining standard formation and advancing at normal speed. They don't know we're here," Woo-seok realized. "Their sensors can't detect us." The Siegebreaker's stealth systems were beyond anything the aliens had encountered. The massive vessel moved through space like a ghost, invisible to enemy detection systems. It positioned itself directly in the path of the advancing fleet. "Initiating primary weapon systems," announced the Siegebreaker's AI. "Probability cascade generators are charging. Reality distortion fields are stable." What happened next would be discussed by military historians for centuries. The Siegebreaker didn't just attack the alien fleet, it unmade them. The primary weapons reached out across space and began to unravel the atomic structure of the enemy. Woo-seok watched through his neural link as 63 alien vessels simply ceased to exist. They didn't explode or burn, they just stopped being there, as if they had never existed at all. "Target eliminated," reported the Siegebreaker's AI with the same tone it might use to announce the weather. Continuing patrol. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 17 seconds. Back on Earth, Dr. Soo-jin Kim was making discoveries that explained why humanity had developed such devastating weapons. Her archaeological work had uncovered the truth about the ancient ruins on Haven's Rest. The civilization that built these structures wasn't alien, she reported to the Emergency Council. They were human, an earlier expansion that failed. Star maps she had found showed that humans had spread across the galaxy before, thousands of years ago. They had encountered other species, some peaceful, some hostile. The ruins on Haven's Rest were the remains of a human colony that had been destroyed in an ancient war. "We've been here before," Soo-jin explained. "Humanity spread to the stars, faced the same challenges, and developed the same solutions. The weapons we're using now are based on designs that are far older than we thought." The revelation changed everything. The War of Extinction hadn't been humanity's first experience with advanced warfare. It had been a rediscovery of knowledge that was already part of human nature. More weapon systems were coming online every day. Orbital defense platforms that could track and destroy entire fleets. Automated factories that could build armies of war machines. AI systems that could predict and counter enemy strategies before they were even implemented. The self-replicating weapons were particularly effective. Kyung-ho watched from the Luna facility as the first batch was deployed against alien forward bases. The weapons spread like a virus, consuming enemy installations and turning them into more weapons. "The aliens are calling them Grey Death," reported Min-kyung from her intelligence station. "They're evacuating entire star systems to avoid contact." The most disturbing discovery was yet to come. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, engineers found a facility that had been sealed for longer than recorded history. Inside were weapons that made the siegebreakers look like toys. The Mars facility contained designs for weapons that could destabilize stars, turning them into bombs that would destroy everything in a solar system. There were plans for devices that could tear holes in space itself, creating weapons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "These aren't just weapons," reported the facility's ancient AI. "They are tools for reshaping reality." Species that built them understood the fundamental nature of existence itself. The hegemony forces were beginning to realize the scope of their mistake. What they had thought was a simple conquest was turning into a nightmare. Human vessels were appearing everywhere, armed with weapons that seemed to come from another universe. "Entirely. The alien high command is discussing withdrawal," Min-kyung reported, "but they're not sure they can escape. Our weapons are moving faster than their ships." The ancient arsenal of humanity was fully awakened now. Weapons that had slept for millennia were stirring to life. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you attacked a species that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. In the depths of space, alien commanders sent desperate messages to their home worlds. The humans were not what they seemed. The peaceful colonies had been a mask, hiding something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. But their messages would never reach their destinations. The war machines of Earth were already moving to ensure that this mistake would never be repeated. The Reckoning Fleet Admiral Dong Han Kong stood on the bridge of the flagship Absolute Zero, watching as the largest human armada in history prepared for departure. The assembled fleet was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Siege breakers, hung in space like dark monuments to human ingenuity, smaller attack vessels swarmed around them like deadly insects. And at the center of it all were ships so advanced that they seemed to bend reality around them. "Final count, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. 247 major vessels, 3,000 support craft, and 18 reality manipulation platforms. Dong Han nodded. The reality manipulation platforms were the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created. They didn't just destroy enemies, they rewrote the laws of physics in local space, making resistance impossible. "Destination coordinates locked in," announced the navigation AI. "We are ready to begin the journey to hegemony space." The journey would take them deep into alien territory, to the core systems where the hegemony had ruled for thousands of years. It was a region of space that no human had ever seen, until now, back on Earth. Ambassador Eugene Wang was preparing for what might be the last diplomatic contact between humans and the hegemony. The alien leadership had requested emergency talks, hoping to find some way to end the conflict before it escalated further. The meeting took place on a neutral space station in the border region. Eugene arrived with a small diplomatic team and a simple message. The hegemony representatives were already waiting, their insectoid forms making nervous clicking sounds as they communicated among themselves. "We wish to discuss terms for ending this conflict," announced the lead hegemony negotiator. "Our initial actions were based on incomplete intelligence. We are prepared to withdraw from human space and provide compensation for damages." Eugen looked at the alien representatives with cold eyes. She had seen the reports from the destroyed colonies, the bodies of children who had never harmed anyone, the ruins of cities that had taken decades to build. The human government has Considered your request, she replied. Our terms are simple: complete and unconditional surrender of all hegemony forces, dismantling of your military capabilities, submission to human oversight of your remaining territories. Alien negotiators made agitated clicking sounds. Those terms are unacceptable. We are offering peaceful withdrawal and reparations. Surely that is sufficient. You attacked our colonies without provocation, Yujin continued. You murdered our civilians. You threatened our home world. There will be no negotiation. Surrender completely or face total annihilation. The meeting ended with the aliens retreating to their ships. Within hours, reports came in that the hegemony was mobilizing every military asset they possessed. They were choosing to fight rather than surrender. Meanwhile, AI controller Seung-Woo Kim was overseeing the deployment of humanity's most sophisticated weapon system. The Cascade Protocol was designed to turn enemy technology against itself, creating chain reactions that would spread throughout alien space. The system is ready, reported the primary AI. We have identified the quantum frequencies used by hegemony technology. Once activated, the Cascade will spread through their entire fleet network. Seung-Woo studied the readouts carefully. The Cascade Protocol was perhaps the most dangerous weapon in humanity's arsenal. It didn't just destroy enemy ships, it infected their technology, turning every alien device into a weapon against its own operators. Begin deployment, he ordered. Target the largest hegemony fleet concentrations first. The battle that followed was spread across dozens of star systems simultaneously. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of hegemony territory and began their advance. What they found was an empire that had been preparing for war for generations. The hegemony had assembled the largest military force in their history. Fleets from across their empire had gathered to face the human threat, their ships numbered in the hundreds of thousands, representing the combined military might of dozens of conquered species. Admiral Dong Hae Kong watched the enemy formations on his tactical display. They outnumber us 1,000 to 1, he observed. Numbers are irrelevant, replied the Fleet A, initiating engagement protocols. The first phase of the battle demonstrated the true power of humanity's ancient weapons, the reality manipulation. Platforms activated, creating fields of altered physics around the enemy fleets. Alien ships found their weapons turning into flowers. Their armor became transparent. Their engines began running backwards through time. The enemy is attempting to retreat, reported the tactical officer. Denied, Dong Han replied.
Activate
the Cascade Protocol. Seung-Woo Kim triggered the system from his control station millions of miles away. The quantum signals spread through space at faster than light speeds, reaching every piece of hegemony technology simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. Alien ships began firing on each other as their targeting systems were compromised. Communication networks turned into weapons, sending deadly signals that destroyed the equipment they were meant to connect. Even simple tools became hazardous as the Cascade rewrote their basic functions. Enemy fleet cohesion is collapsing, reported the tactical AI. They are experiencing system-wide technological failure. But the hegemony had one final surprise. Their most advanced ships activated something called the Unity Protocol, merging multiple vessels into single massive entities. These combined ships were larger than entire human space stations and armed with weapons that could destroy planets. New enemy contacts, announced the tactical officer. 12 supermassive vessels approaching from multiple vectors. The Unity ships were impressive, but they were still bound by the normal laws of physics. The human fleet was not. The siege breakers moved to intercept, their probability cascade generators charging for maximum effect. What followed was less a battle than a demonstration. The human weapons reached across space and began to edit the Unity ships out of existence. The massive alien vessels simply faded away, their atoms scattered across multiple dimensions. Enemy resistance is minimal, reported the Fleet AI, hegemony. Military capabilities have been reduced by 97%. The war continued for 3 more weeks, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human forces swept through hegemony space like a tide of destruction. Every military installation was neutralized. Every weapons factory was dismantled. Every warship was either destroyed or converted into scrap metal. The few hegemony leaders who survived the onslaught were brought before Admiral Donghan Kong aboard his flagship. They were no longer the confident conquerors who had attacked human colonies. They were broken beings who had witnessed the total destruction of everything they had built. "Your empire is finished," Donghaeon told them. "Your military is gone. Your weapons are destroyed. Your ability to threaten anyone has been permanently removed." The alien leaders made desperate clicking sounds as they begged for mercy. Offered to serve humanity, to provide tribute, to do anything that would spare what remained of their civilization. "You will be allowed to live," the admiral continued, "but you will never again possess the means to wage war. Your technology will be reduced to pre-industrial levels. Your worlds will be monitored to ensure compliance." The hegemony empire, which had dominated a quarter of the galaxy for over 2,000 years, had been completely dismantled in less than a month. Their advanced civilization was reduced to scattered agricultural settlements under human oversight. As the human fleet began its return journey to Earth, reports came in from across hegemony space. The Cascade Protocol had done its work too well. Not only had it destroyed military technology, but it had also infected civilian systems. Entire worlds were reverting to primitive conditions as their technological infrastructure collapsed. "Aliens will recover eventually," reported Sungwoo Kim. "But it will take them centuries to rebuild even basic industrial capacity." The galaxy had learned what happened when humanity was forced to abandon its peaceful nature. The war engines of Earth had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. The New Silence Admiral Hyung Choi stood before the rebuilt Colonial Council in the same chamber where the emergency had begun 6 months earlier. The room looked the same, but everything else had changed. The red marks on the star map had been replaced with green indicators showing rebuilt colonies and new defensive installations. Humanity had not only survived the hegemony attack, it had emerged stronger than ever before. "The reconstruction of our destroyed colonies is proceeding ahead of schedule," she reported to the assembled officials. "New Busan is fully operational. Again, Haven's Rest has been rebuilt with enhanced defenses. All 7 attacked worlds are once again home to thriving human communities." But the real question hanging over the meeting was what to do with the awakened war engines. The ancient weapons that had saved humanity were still active, still waiting in their hidden facilities and patrol routes. They were too powerful to ignore and too dangerous to leave uncontrolled. The siege breakers continue their patrols along our borders, Admiral Choi continued. The reality manipulation platforms are monitoring deep space for any signs of hostile activity. The question before us today is whether these systems should remain active permanently. The debate that followed was intense. Some officials argued that the weapons should be deactivated and sealed away again, returning humanity to its peaceful expansion. Others insisted that the galaxy had proven too dangerous for such an IVEC. Dr. Sujin Kim, now serving as the chief advisor on galactic affairs, presented her recommendation. "My archaeological research has revealed the truth about our place in the galaxy. Humanity has always been a warrior species. Our peaceful expansion was an anomaly, not our natural state." She activated a holographic display showing star maps that spanned thousands of years. Human civilizations have risen and fallen across the galaxy multiple times. Each time, we developed advanced weapons to defend ourselves. Each time, we eventually chose to forget our military capabilities and focus on peaceful pursuits. The pattern was clear and disturbing. Humans would spread across the stars, encounter hostile species, develop devastating weapons, achieve victory, then voluntarily disarm themselves. Generations later, new threats would emerge, and the cycle would begin again. "This time must be different," Dr. Sujin concluded. "We cannot afford to forget our lessons again." On the frontier world of New Kepler, engineer Jihuan SEO was overseeing the construction of humanity's first permanent war machine facility. So unlike the hidden installations of the past, this one was built in the open, its purpose clear to anyone who saw it. The new siege breaker will be completed in 3 weeks, he reported to his supervisors. Unlike the ancient vessels, this one is designed for long-term operation rather than emergency activation. The new generation of human war machines incorporated lessons learned from the recent conflict. They were more efficient, more precise, and somehow even more terrifying than their predecessors. But most importantly, they were designed to remain active indefinitely. "We're not building weapons," Chi Huan explained to his construction team. "We're building guardians. These machines will watch over the peaceful species of the galaxy and ensure that what happened to our colonies never happens again." Captain Wu Xiaokli, now commanding a fleet of advanced warships, was discovering what it meant to patrol space with overwhelming technological superiority. His ships moved through systems that had once belonged to the hegemony, ensuring that the surviving alien populations were rebuilding their societies according to human guidelines. The former hegemony worlds are adapting to their new circumstances, he reported during his regular communication with Earth. Most of the population has accepted the transition to agricultural and artisan economies. There have been no attempts to rebuild military capabilities. The aliens who had once threatened human extinction were now living simple lives under careful human oversight. Their advanced technology was gone, replaced by basic tools and farming equipment. Their mighty fleets had been reduced to small transport vessels suitable only for local travel. It was a complete reversal of power that had taken less than a year to accomplish. But the transformation wasn't limited to former enemy territory. Throughout human space, new defensive installations were being constructed. AI systems that had once been hidden were now openly acknowledged. The peaceful colonies that had characterized human expansion were being replaced by fortified worlds capable of defending themselves, Dr. Yunji. Park was working on the most ambitious project of all, the creation of a galactic monitoring network that would ensure no hostile species could threaten peaceful civilizations again. The system would use quantum sensors spread across thousands of light years to detect military buildups, weapons development, and aggressive expansion. The network will be fully operational within 5 years, she reported to the Terran Defense Council. Once complete, we will have real-time intelligence on every significant military activity in this region of the galaxy. The system represented a fundamental shift in humanity's approach to galactic affairs. Instead of reacting to threats after they emerged, humans would now actively monitor and prevent the development of hostile forces. Ambassador Yuzhen Wang was establishing diplomatic contact with dozens of species that had previously been too afraid to approach human space. The destruction of the hegemony had sent a clear message across the galaxy. Humanity was now the dominant military power. But it was also committed to protecting peaceful civilizations. 17 species have requested formal protection agreements. She reported, "They're offering tribute and technology in exchange for guaranteed security against aggressive neighbors." The offers represented a new model for galactic civilization. Instead of empires built through conquest, there would be voluntary associations of species seeking mutual protection and prosperity under human oversight. "We're not building an empire," Ambassador Huang explained to skeptical council members. "We're building a neighborhood watch program that covers half the galaxy." But the most important changes were happening on Earth itself. The archives beneath Sol had been expanded and reorganized. Instead of hiding humanity's military capabilities, they were now being studied and improved. New generations of scientists and engineers were learning about weapons that could reshape reality itself. Archivist Jinwu Nam, now in charge of the expanded facility, was training a new generation of guardians. "The knowledge will never be hidden again," he told his students. "Future generations must understand both the power and the responsibility that comes with these weapons." The lesson was clear. Humanity's peaceful nature was not weakness, but a choice made from a position of overwhelming strength. The galaxies. Peaceful species could pursue art, science, and exploration because humans were willing to bear the burden of maintaining order. The new human colonies, being established, were different from their predecessors. They were still centers of agriculture, research, and industry, but they were also fortified positions capable of defending themselves and their neighbors. Each settlement was protected by weapon systems that could destroy hostile fleets before they could pose a threat. Commander Taman Park, overseeing the reconstruction of New Busan, watched children playing in the same fields where the alien attack had begun. The colony looked peaceful, but everyone knew that massive defensive systems were hidden beneath the surface, ready to activate at the first sign of danger. "They can play safely because we remember how to fight," he told his wife as they watched. Their own children running through the wheat fields, the ancient war engines had returned to their hiding places. But they were not sleeping. They patrolled the darkness between stars, watched over peaceful worlds, and waited for anyone foolish enough to threaten the children of Earth. The galaxy had entered a new age, an age where peace was maintained not through hope or goodwill, but through the absolute certainty that any aggressor would face weapons beyond their comprehension. Humanity had chosen to be the guardians of galactic civilization. The universe was safer for it. In the depths of space, automated sensors continued their endless watch. The war engines of humanity stood ready, and the galaxy knew peace.